Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's MMA Huddle. You're joined by myself and the good-looking man to my side, Will Martin. We are going to be breaking down the UFC Rio Rancho, New Mexico card shortly, headlined by Corey Anderson and Jan Blachowicz for the rematch. And then we will obviously jump over to Will's bets later on, so stay tuned for that. Now, if you have not already hit that button, hit that subscribe button. We were, time recording this, 5 away from 1,000, right? 5. Get that bloody button press, folks, all right? Join in the conversation below. Let us know your picks, your bets, your thoughts, anything. Talk about anything you want. Talk about the weather, I don't care, or how luscious your hair is, or what shampoo products you use, we don't care, or if your toenails are long, I don't care. Just join the conversation. We love to hear back from everyone on the DraftKings, for example, or if they're doing just straight bets on the betting sites, whatever they're doing, what odds they got. Always great to hear from you guys and girls. And again, please hit that subscribe button, join in. Now, Will, before we jump into the breakdown of the card, let's just have a little rewind to the UFC 247. Now, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, on that card, but as an overview, bro, I kind of glance at it. What are your thoughts on the card?
I just think it's going to be completely overshadowed by the scorecards and the whole scoring malarkey, the commissions and stuff. That's what I think it's going to be. It seems to be a lot of the talk that's on social media, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and stuff, is a lot of the scoring and how it should be changed and this, that, and people who should be judging fights. And but fight-wise, like I say, I enjoyed the main event. I think I didn't expect to see that much out of Reyes. Honestly, I didn't think he could be that super aggressive against Joe. I thought Jones would make adjustments in probably the second round, and he didn't really make that many adjustments, but then started to come on. I don't know about you, but I had it for Jones. But honestly, I think it could have, if it went to Reyes, I could not have complained or tried to make a decision for like Jon Jones. I think that whatever way it went would have been worked out absolutely fine. But yeah, Valentina's just an absolute. She's just an assassin, pretty much. She's amazing. And yeah, I thought it was some well matched fights. There was some young guys that came through with some spectacular KOs as well. But overall, it was pretty much the two top fights, and they kind of delivered, especially the main event with Jones retaining the title. But it kind of puts him in a place now where he's definitely, and this was quite interesting. I can't remember who said. I think it was Anthony Smith that said this, that maybe people are starting to catch up to Jon Jones because there's so much footage out there, and he's maybe those people that are making the adjustments to get to Jon Jones. I think he made an analysis like he was going at 100 miles an hour and everybody else was like 50 miles an hour, but that gap's closing where they're catching up 75, 80. And it seems to be that it might be going that way, but like I say, you've still got to beat Jon Jones, and that's not an easy task in itself. But big props to Dominic Reyes. I think, like I say, my personal preference was Jones for the fight, but honestly, I think that Reyes did himself proud and was unlucky not to come away with the belt as well. So, yeah, a decent card overall. But it's always weird when they go to Texas. There's always mess ups with the scorecards and the judges. Like, some of the rounds were ridiculous, by the way. Like, I think the first round, James Krause was on the back for 3 to 3.5 minutes of that fight, that round, and they gave it to Trevin Giles, and I'm like, whew, like that's a bit much. So, yeah, but outside of the main event, I thought Ige made another step up, which is something that I didn't expect. Well, I didn't expect, because I picked Bektic. I thought that he fought a really good fight, and I thought he deserved the decision, honestly. But like I say, outside of that, Danny Ige was the one that kind of impressed. I liked his performance, and Justin Tafa, nice knockout as well.
Yeah, Gwan Adams, yeah. Him and Tafa, yeah. The pair of them are just gopping. Gosh, they are. Let's just drown them in the prelims in the future and get rid of Gwan Adams. We don't need that lad around. He's going to go back to the gym and make adjustments. If you've already got a skill set and you don't know how to use it, you're probably never going to know how to use it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into the card and start breaking this down now. Obviously, there's been an adjustment with a replacement, so we're going to start with that because I'm not sure where this fight's going to end up. But in the light heavyweight division, we have Devin Clark against Dequan Townsend. So Dequan, who recently just fought down at middleweight, is stepping in short notice in light heavyweight, which he did do in the past to make his UFC debut. Will, what are you looking to see in this fight between these two gentlemen?
I just think Dequan Townsend's jumping in any opportunity he can get to get some money. Pretty much, I don't see. What the guy is he's like a very, very, very experienced journeyman pro who is very hard to take out, is very grizzled, and can throw some big power shots when he wants to. Outside of that, he can be controlled against the cage and he can be taken down a little bit as well. Maybe not as easy as what I maybe once thought, but still he can be controlled. I think Devin Clark can do that. I think he can take him down. I think he can control him also. So for me, like I would be super surprised if Dequan Townsend won this fight. But he throws heavy leather, and he did that against Bevon Lewis, and he caught him with a couple of fairly clean strikes that if there were any more on the button, it could have changed the kind of outcome of the fight. But I'm not going to pick Dequan Townsend in the UFC fight. I think he's extremely kind of lowish level, kind of regional, hard man to fight in the regional levels, but he's the kind of guy that you give to the up-and-comers to maybe try and get in the UFC. I think Devin Clark should win here, so I'm going to go with him for the win.
Yeah, I'm going with Devin Clark too. I just think the grappling aspect that he has, I just don't think that Dequan has the... I don't think he has the speed, if I'm honest with you. I think he's a little bit slow in movement, anticipation. He's very calm and very controlled when he's fighting, because he's, like you said, Will, a big key factor is his experience. So he's got the minutes under his belt. He is quite calm when he's in there, but sometimes I wish there was a little bit more eagerness and willingness to want to get the fight kind of over with, or at least get more action going. When he gets against the cage, I think Devin Clark should obviously he's going to be shorter, but he should be the stronger kind of guy, the grappling aspect, and be able to get one or two takedowns and just cause Dequan problems. It's just that distance closing down for Devin Clark. He's got to be careful when Dequan throws those punches that he doesn't run into them, but I think it should be a simple decision win for Clark. I think Clark will just grind this one out and be safe and get the win under his belt, because for Clark it's more about getting the win under his belt than anything else, rather than focus on the finish. Next up we have in the flyweight division, lovely little bout here. Mark De La Rosa. Okay, now I'm going to say this wrong, but get over it. I'm not Brazilian. Okay, Raulian Paiva. Yeah, we'll go Paiva. Paiva sounds like a fruit. Do you know what I mean? Get over it, folks. I'm not Brazilian. I'm not going to say it right. Yeah, I like the matchup really. I think Mark De La Rosa is a very fun guy to watch, but I'm telling you what, I'm going Raulian. I'm going to go with him, man. I think that his debut against Kai was that third round. He came on so well. He started to get he was comfortable in the cage, started getting the range, started getting the punches off. Obviously, he had a little nick in his last fight, a little cut, which stopped the fight. Yeah, it's a bit cheeky, but at the same time, take that away, he actually cut his opponent in the fight. So he cut Rodrigo. So at the same, it's not like it was a one-way traffic. It was just a case that he had to cut the injury, the fight stopped. But he looked really good in that fight anyway. I think he's got really, actually, when he gets things going in the fight, I think he's got good striking. He can put it together well. On the grappling aspect, I think he should be able to defend against Mark De La Rosa. I think on the feet he should really outclass it. I think Mark will have a tough time getting the fight, not only just against the cage, but also get the fight to the ground. I think he'll have a tough time close distance in this fight. I think now you've got a point where you've got a man who's had X amount of fights in the UFC. He's had a couple of losses. He needs to get, I think both of them need to get a win. To be honest with this kind of the stage that they're at, the pair of them. Apologies. But I'm just going to go with with the guy who's not even got a win in the UFC. I'm going to go with your Brazilian boy because I just think he does look decent. He's got aspects about him. I wish the fight with Rodrigo went on further. I think that would have been an absolutely enthralling fight to see where that fight could have gone. So I'm going decision win. I think he can absolutely just piece up Mark De La Rosa over the 3 rounds, get up off the ground a couple of times with takedowns from Mark De La Rosa. But Mark's goal is to try and get the fight to the ground, but I don't think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, I'm going with Paiva as well. When I watch De La Rosa, I think that he's just, his game doesn't seem to kind of all come together when it needs to come together. Now I know that he's fought some fairly decent guys, as Mark De La Rosa. But it's me. I think he has to get the fight to the ground. I think on the feet, he's probably at a speed disadvantage, probably at a striking disadvantage. Obviously at a length disadvantage. So he's coming off a couple of losses to Kai Kara and Alex Perez. They're 2 fairly ranked together, and he was competitive but never really in the fights. You look at the guys he's beaten in the UFC, Elias Garcia, Joby, Sanchez, they guys aren't in the UFC. So when he's made the step up to guys who have won fights and been in the company a bit longer than some of the A guys have been, he's struggled. And he's struggled to get takedowns, and that's where I think his main thing is. I think on the feet he's just outgunned a little bit. If he gets it to the ground, and saying that, Paiva's been taken down by Kai Kara France, and he was kind of thrown around a little bit by Bontorin in his last fight, where he was across the back and he was getting launched about before catching that big knee to the dome and opening that cut. But I like what I've seen, especially in that fight with Kai Kara France late in the fight. Really started to come into it, really started to put a lot of strikes together. Sorry about this, the missus is throwing dishes around as well, if you can probably hear that.
We could make a sexist comment, but we're not going to.
I think that if he keeps us standing for long periods of the fight, which I think he will, I think he'll outpoint him personally. But it'd be interesting if the fight goes to the ground, because De La Rosa, I think, probably has an advantage, but Paiva's not bad off the ground either. It's just his takedown defense lacks a little bit, but he's got a fairly high takedown defense accuracy. So I'm going to take Paiva. He's a guy I actually quite like betting wise for a parlay that I have for this card. So I've got him here to beat De La Rosa via decision. It could end up being close, but I've got Paiva for the win.
Nice, bro. So next up in the bantamweight division for the ladies, we have Macy Chiasson against Nicco Montaño. Now, Will, it's a interesting fight on both parts, really, because can Macy improve from her last performance, and can Nicco do anything to kind of make a run in that bantamweight division? Because if she beats Macy, I think that's a good, solid win. But what are you looking in this fight, Will, and who are you looking at?
Well, you've got the natural bantamweight in Nicco Montaño, pretty much, against the girl who probably should fight at 145 because she's nearing 6 foot and she's a big girl, big reach advantage in this one here. And she takes quite a few strikes. She absorbs quite a few, but she can give quite a few as well. She's very, like I say, very long. You look at Nicco, she throws a lot of kind of output. But she takes a lot of shots as well, and I think that she could be at the end of whatever Chiasson has. But, I mean, Macy absolutely shot the bed last time out, and Lena Landsberg kind of held her up, kind of beat her in the clinch. She did what she had to do. Montaño could be one of those people that she could come in there, maybe put out a game plan like that. She will probably get takedowns in this fight, but it's whether she can get to the dominant positions. If she can, I think she could maybe tie Macy Chiasson up a little bit, and that could be interesting to see if she can get her back on the mat. Because, like I say, the bigger girl and Chiasson, she's could be a little bit harder to get to the ground. And like I say, that fight with Juliana Pena was competitive. I thought obviously the right woman won. There was a lot of passes that she had in that one there, and obviously she had the Ultimate Fighter where she won a UFC strap, which is always a little bit, when you look at it, you're like, Jesus Christ. So, and she beat Roxy, who, like I say, Roxy's not...
Now, she's improved.
Yeah, she's not a pushover. She's never really been a pushover. She's just making a lot more improvements later on in her career, and that happens sometimes with a lot of fighters, and it seems to be happening with Roxy, where she's put everything together, strength, conditioning, and all that. But there was a lot of strikes landing that one. There was some good takedowns. There was some good passes. I'm going to pick Macy Chiasson, but honestly, I'm not that confident. I think Nicco could maybe make this a lot closer than I initially thought. Honestly, I thought that maybe Macy would rebound, and I mean, she's coming from Fortis. They had a rough week last week in Houston, so it'll be interesting to see if she can kind of pick the spirits of the team up and get back on the win column here for herself and her team, obviously. But I'm going to go Macy. Be a very close split decision. I think this could be like a really close encounter, so it wouldn't surprise me if Nicco won either. But I'm going to go Macy.
Yeah, you got to think. I'm just thankful that Nicco didn't have to fight Valentina Shevchenko.
Whew. I don't blame her for that fight.
That is a bullet dodged. Yeah, it's one thing. I've got to be having belief in Fortis MMA that they sat down with Macy after that fight and went, "Watch that video, and you tell me when we were shouting instructions to you why you didn't do it, because everything you didn't do is happening. Like, look at this. She controlled X." Like, they have to have pointed that out to her. She cannot do the same again. Now, I spoke to you off air, but I think that there was a chance, to be fair, that Macy, like everyone else, just had an off day. It just wasn't clicking. You wake up, nothing's working. You can't get your head in the game. As we know ourselves, fighters have lives outside of fighting, so we don't know what could be going on in personal lives. Anything could be happening with anyone. Fighters don't usually sit there and blab about it either to excuses. So it could have been a case of it just wasn't her day. She just couldn't switch on. 9 times out of 10, she might absolutely destroy Lena Landsberg, but who knows? For me, though, Nicco, I think the fight with Juliana Pena, to be honest with you, that was a hard fight anyway to throw her in with. I think Pena's a pretty decent bantamweight in my eyes, but she fought a pretty good fight. I thought that maybe she might be a bit out-muscled with Pena, and the kind of stubbornness of Pena as well, which is something that Nicco kind of got caught out with. I think Macy, if it gets to the clinch work, she should out-bully Nicco. She should be able to out-strengthen her, outpower, even with underhook battles. She should be able to turn her around, get away, or even stay in the clinch game and use the elbows and knees and keep it tight. But if I'm honest, I need to see Macy keep this fight at distance. Keep Nicco up against the cage, back her up to the cage, close off the cage, close her off, and use those strikes, use those 1-2s, get her against the cage, and start to rip a couple on the body and upstairs to really open her up. I think Nicco's going to try and close that fight down a lot. I think she's going to try and clinch up a lot because she knows that she can't fight on a distance in this fight and win. So I expect a lot of a clinch work fighting and fighting finals with her. But I'm just hoping that Macy can, for periods of the fight, get those shots in, really make Landon, really hurt Nicco. I'm going to go Nicco for, the Macy for the win. But I just hope she doesn't. I hope she turns up and doesn't do what she did last. She can't. If she does what she does again this time, I cannot pick her again, because you can't make the same decision. You can't make the same performance twice. So I'm going to go with Macy for this one. Next up, we have bantamweight division. Tough fight to pick, to be honest with you. I had to watch the tape a little bit more. And Kenney against Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili is a bundle of energy and aggression and takedowns, and he likes to just get on top and just dominate fighters from top. My thing with Casey is, when I watched it, Casey can get taken down easily enough. He got took down by Ray. He's had fights where he gets, but you can also reverse. That was one of the things that kind of threw me out. He's got good sweeps, good reversals. He can turn the fight around when he's on his back. Look, with the fight against Manny was an interesting one. Manny as well at the weekend had a lightweight title fight in the regional scene and came in overweight.
Yeah.
So he missed weight at bantamweight, featherweight, and now lightweight. Now, he did put a status up on Facebook saying he's going to take a step away from the fight game for a bit and sort shit out. But at the same time, you missed 155 pounds. What? So he won in under a minute. So the annoying thing about that guy is he's got bloody talent, but it's just applying the discipline to stick at it. But yeah, for Casey, I like his sweeps, reversals, the good scrambles that he has. I think him and Ray Borg, actually, it was a fun fight. I really enjoyed that one, watching that back again. I knew it was a fun fight anyway, but I enjoyed the scrambles and the back and forth, kind of the action. I think this fight will be a little bit different than the Ray Borg fight. I feel that Ray Borg, when he's on top, doesn't have quite as much as control, and I think Dvalishvili will have a bit more power and control to kind of keep you down. He's good at holding. He can hold you down probably a little bit better. He's shown as well, Dvalishvili over time as well with the UFC and the time in the UFC under the big lights. He's shown a bit of kind of what's the word I want to use? Composure. That's the word, because he fought, he came in, Frankie Saenz. I thought that's a tough fight. Frankie Saenz, it's a tough fight, that one, coming in for your debut. Ricky Simone, another tough fight. But then he got the kind of suitable guys for him to get him into it with Teron Ware and someone else who I've got to forget now, but doesn't matter. Not that I'm not saying they're not important, I just can't remember the name of the fighter. I'm not Rain Man. I don't remember every guy. But I think Merab should have this fight under control. Similar to with Aljamain Sterling, with the grappling. Those guys are just killers at Ray Longo. Especially, it seems that the smaller divisions are the kind of key for them. 155 down, Ray Longo and Sarah, they've got some absolute savages. So I'm going to go with Dvalishvili for decision win here, but I would not be shocked if Casey gets a couple of reversals. But man, it's going to be an awesome fight to watch.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the better fights on the card, because you've got someone in Merab who he goes and he doesn't really stop. He's just really high octane, really high energy, and he kind of goes for it as much as he kind of can. And his grappling is very, very good, very explosive. Once he's in, he's a hard guy to... I apologise about the missus again. She's away doing something.
She's having a pee in a sink?
Well, I don't know what she's up to.
Cocking a leg over.
Making a lot of noise, so apologies for that. Yeah, high energy, energy takedowns. But when you look at who he's got his wins against, I'm not taking away because they're in the UFC, but you've got Terrion Ware, who was never UFC quality, had really close fights, and then you've got Brad Katona, who I think is decent, but then he's coming from SBG, and I'm like, who is he really kind of training his grappling with? I know he went to Penn State for a couple of days, and that'll help somewhat, but it's like, yeah, whatever. But he does take down a lot of guys, does Merab. Pretty much everybody he's taken down numerous times. I mean, Frankie Saenz, he took down 11 times, still lost the fight. So he does get a lot of takedowns. He doesn't really hold people there, though. And I think against someone like Kenney, who can definitely scramble, because you've seen that in the fights with Manny and Ray Borg, that he gets taken down a few times, but he can reverse positions and scramble probably as good as anybody that probably Merab's ever faced before. And there is going to be points in this fight where Merab's going to get him down. Now, he could be strong enough where he might be the kind of guy that keeps him down and kind of settles for the position where you get someone like Manny Bermudez, who took him down, and you know what Manny's like, he's going to look for submissions. Yeah. So he will give opportunities up to someone like Kenney, who can scramble really well. Where Merab, if he gets him down like he kind of did against Katona and stayed heavy on top, then he could win rounds through that. On the feet, I think it's fairly close, actually. I'll probably edge Casey Kenney in that. Initially, I was on Merab in this fight, but I'm actually on Casey Kenney in this one. I think that there's going to be points where he gets into positions where he's maybe the dominant fighter on top, but Merab, like I say, he uses a hell of a lot of energy. He jumps around and goes for things super quick. So I just got a feeling this is going to be a close fight, and I fancy siding with the underdog in Casey Kenney here. I think that, like I said, it's going to be close. I do think Merab will get takedowns, but I think that Casey will scramble and will get him in positions, and as maybe the fight goes on, he might come into it a little bit more. So I've got Casey Kenney be a very, 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 very close split decision, but there's not much between these two, in my opinion. So, but I always love watching Merab fight, because I think he's like I say, he's just an uncoiled ball of energy that just goes from the very second the kind of bell goes, pretty much. But I fancy Casey Kenney in this one, so yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the kind of... I've got 3 or 4 fights that I'm looking forward to on the card, and that's certainly on that list, because like I said as well, mate, the scramble bit, that's the bit I'm looking forward to the most, to see who comes out on top of that. And I think it's going to be a super tight fight. I think it's going to be great. Next up we have in the lightweight division, the man himself, Jim Miller, the rejuvenated Jim Miller, let's say, against a really tough opponent, Scott Holtzman, who's really improved over the past couple of years. Really, Scott's really coming to his own. Will, what are you seeing here? I think it's a very good matchup. What's got your eyes on this?
Again, I find this one a little bit harder to decipher a little bit. There's a couple of fights in this one that I really struggle with. The Merab one was one I kind of had problems with, because originally I was on Merab, and then I watched some fights. I'm thinking, well, I think Casey can get into spots where he's winning the fight here. But this fight here, Jim Miller, like he's won his last couple of fights. He seems like he's really kind of found his step again in the UFC after I thought he was kind of on his way out. And then Scott Holtzman's like a really tough guy to fight, though. He's a guy that you don't really finish, and he's just like a brick. He looks after himself well. He does everything kind of right with his weight cut. Obviously, kind of cuts quite a bit of weight, and he's just a hard guy to really look good against. I mean, his losses, Josh Emmett, stuck in there, landed some takedowns, also got taken down a little bit, but he's not really faced someone who's super aggressive on the ground like Jim Miller. But Jim Miller has to get the fight there. That's the thing I'm a little bit worried about, because I think if he doesn't find his way to get the fight there, then he's going to be at chance of maybe getting hit with some big shots up top. But once he gets the fight there, I mean, he got the Gonzalez fight there, got him with a rear naked choke. Clay Guida caught him very, very early on in regular teen choke. So if he can get his arms around some part of Scott Holtzman, he doesn't even need to get the takedown, actually. If he can just get in a position where he can maybe get around the neck, he could absolutely clear that up. You go back to the Alex White fight as well. He hurt him with some strikes before he got the submission in that one. So I'm struggling a lot on this one. I mean, Holtzman coming off a win, coming off a stoppage against the Maestro, rebounding after his loss to Nick Lentz, where he got out grappled in that one.
And Nick's a tough guy. Nick is a tough dude to fight as well. He's a tough guy to go against too.
It's weird because like he can get a lot of takedowns in his fights, but he's also like, I mean, Nick Lentz is he is a wrestler.
Yeah.
That was his original kind of when he came into the sport. That's what he kind of used most, was a grind and wrestling. And Jim Miller's not really known for that, but I think he can probably get the fight to the ground at some point. And whether he can keep Holtzman there, because like I say, Holtzman's a big guy for 155. Yeah. He's jacked. Toss a coin for me. I'll go Jim Miller. In fact, I'll go via stoppage. I think he catches him in the submission, but no confidence in that fight whatsoever. But I'll go Jim Miller via sub, an opportunistic sub in the first 2 rounds. Hard one though.
It is tough. Holtzman looks like you and me when we take our tops off, Will. That's why we keep our tops on for everyone. But I'm going Scott Holtzman. One thing about the Clay Guida fight was Jim Miller got dropped onto his butt quickly.
Yeah, he did.
Got clipped. And Jim Miller's been clipped a few times over the years. I know he had the Lyme disease that kind of messed up health-wise, and he's returned back in a way to that. But obviously, being someone like Jason Gonzalez, I was like, yeah, fair enough. Nah, it's like a gimme. It's like if you can get this, you stay. If you don't, you'll probably cut you. But then the Clay Guida fight, Clay was returned back to 155. And it was a kind of double-edged sword. You got Clay Guida who's just going to shoot for the takedowns against a guy who's a legit G on the ground with his submission game. So there was a high probability of that happening. But I think with Scott Holtzman, Scott's got legit power in his hands. You know, he can crack dudes. I think he might be able to outmuscle Jim a little bit on the grappling side of things against the cage. But I think I want to go with Scott only because I think Scott can land on Jim. And I don't know how Jim will take the hits. I don't know how he'll take that southpaw stance of Scott Holtzman with that left popping through the middle. and the kicks too. But if I'm Scott Holtzman, I'm just going to try and land that left and land a couple of heavy shots. And he hits hard because you've seen the faces of some of his opponents. They're cut up and bloodied, so he's not popping a little gentle punch out. And as well over time, you've seen yourself. Well, obviously, he's got a lot better with his conditioning over time. For someone like you say who cuts a lot, he's got a bit of bulk on him, quite a lot of muscle. You can see over the years his conditioning's got a lot better for 3 rounds. He can put a lot more performance in there. And if Scott actually gets on top here, he is nasty on top. That like he hits, he can crack with some good ground and pound. So I think Jim Miller, I like Jim Miller a lot. I've liked him for years. I just don't know with the kind of fights he's had over the years and the hits, and I don't want to. It's a hard one. I was tough. I was torn because I thought Jim Miller, he'll probably just get the fight down, single leg against the cage, rip it down, get on top and go for like some kind of choke. If he's on his back, his armbar's just so good. He's such a good armbar, Jim Miller has. But I'm going to go with Scott just because I think he can probably finish the fight. I think on the feet, Scott can finish it more likely than Jim. On the ground, obviously, Jim can stop the fight on the ground, but the fight starts standing, so I'll go Scott. It's not, I'm with you, Will, it's not uber confident. It's just because we have to pick someone. Next up, Will, pretty boring fight coming up for, if you're British. Our boy, is it Matt Bailey and AJ are going over there to watch the fight. We're not.
Fair play.
Fair play. Kudos to him. I'd love to go over, but I don't have the facilities to do that because you and I, Will, are parents, and when unlike them, we've got to pay for crap like that. So the kids keep eating, they keep growing. It's not fair. So we have John Dodson against Nathaniel Wood. Now, if you check up, there should be a little icon popping up for an interview I did with Nathaniel Wood. So be sure to check that out. Again, interesting fight. Nathaniel Wood, big step up against a kind of staple in the UFC, John Dodson. It seems and feels like he's been there forever. And I think his hairline's starting to show that as well. Bless him. He's got a lot of hair from about midway back, and it's all... Man, that forehead's getting bigger all the time, isn't it? But he's... solid fighter, been around for a long time, and he is hard to stop. John Dodson is not a tough cookie to stop. Even the Peter Yan fight, he dropped Peter Yan he cracked Peter Yan. I think a part of that factor was that Peter Yan was just so aggressive all the time, but Peter Yan had to just keep closing John Dodson down. If you're coming forward all the time, there's a chance that John Dodson's going to time you, and he did. Nathaniel Wood, I think his footwork has improved leaps and bounds since his UFC performance. I think overall, if you watch Nathaniel's first few fights, he went levels. Like the Eduardo fight, I think you were in the same boat as me, Will. We watched it and our bums were squeaking because you were like, this should not have happened. Nathaniel should have made this a lot easier than he did, and he somehow made it a lot harder. So, thing for John Dodson is going for the takedown is not something he should be going for because Nathaniel's shown he's got good submission attempts now. Starting the chain of submissions together. He's got a nice little thing going on. And John Dodson should want to keep on the feet. John's got power. If he can time it, and he's explosive coming forward. If you watch the Peter Yan fight again, Peter Yan had to be on his toes backing up. So John Dodson's still got that explosive power. The reason why I mentioned Peter Yan rather than like Jimmy Rivera, etc., is that there's less fights coming John Dodson's way. If you look at the frequency of his fighting, it's reducing down quite a bit. 2019, one fight. We're coming to 2020 now, obviously, and this is his first fight in 2020. He's 35 years old. He's not getting any younger, especially in a division where it's seen as, 35 to 40 is the latter part of your career, really, in that division. So you've got to remember, speed's the first thing to go. Power is the last thing they say, isn't it? So I'm not saying he's going to slow down greatly over the next, over a year, but it could be a slight degrading his speed, but Nathaniel Wood, he just needs to be very cautious. He's got head movement he's been working on, his boxing he's been working on. Just keep the fight boxing. Pop off those straights. get into John Dodson's face, keep the pressure on Dodson, keep Dodson back against the cage like Peter Yan. Literally look at Peter Yan, look at the script and follow it. You know, you put the pressure on Dodson. He finds it really hard to get that explosive movement in when he's backing up to the cage all the time. So I'm looking at Nathaniel Wood to use boxing here, try and keep it away from the ground for the pair of them. And if Nathaniel can just close him off, use the boxing, use that. He's got about 3-inch reach advantage. Just really pop it off on him and kind of take a notepad out of from the Peter Yan's fight and just pressure that guy for 3 rounds. You should be able to stop Dodson applying what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're all fans of Nathaniel's. We've been fans of his for a long, long time. I think it's a tough fight for him. I think it's a really this is where we're going to see. I mean, his nickname's the Prospect. This is the fight here, I think, that's going to show us if he's making the correct adjustments to move himself up to kind of really being an elite prospect, in my opinion. And that's what they're doing here. They're putting him in with John Dodson there, knowing that if he comes through this fight, then we might have something here. His UFC tenure, before he went to the UFC, everybody was talking about his striking. Because in Cage Warriors, his last few fights, he obviously had the Josh Reed fight, which was crazy. And then he had the knockout of Iavini, which was just clean. It was just a clean shot.
Yeah.
His boxing is something that has gotten so much better. In his his boxing's always been decent, but it's really
5 or 6 fights.
Yeah, it's really went up levels since he came out of Bama, which was 3-4 years ago. And getting Cage Warriors. And Cage Warriors know what to do with fighters, and they match you up well. I mean, he had Vaughn Lee fight. He won that fight with Kovacevic. Then there was obviously fights I was talking about. So he comes into the UFC. Tough fight to start off with Johnny Eduardo, a guy who was kind of declining a little bit, but took his licks in that first round and then caught a black belt with a submission. Andre Ewell, somehow he was the underdog in that fight. I've no idea how that panned out. He got some really, really good takedowns, and Ewell had nothing for this guy off his back. And then Quinones took a few licks, gave a few licks, hit him with some really nice counter strikes, but he gets the back so quickly. Like, if you give him an opportunity, he leaps on it, and you can be in a hell of a lot of trouble against him. Now, you look at someone like John Dodson, that's a guy that predominantly doesn't get finished. I don't think he's ever been finished in his professional career, so you have to kind of take that. If he gets the finish, then that's going to be huge, but you can beat this guy over 15 minutes if you can play the kind of right game plan. And he's, like I say, he's longer, his footwork is definitely improved. He has to kind of cut the cage off here. I do think Dodson his speed has waned a little bit, but the power's still there, like you've seen in the Yan fight. Now, maybe he used Jan's aggressiveness in that fight because Jan was being Peter Yan. He's coming forward and he's going to look to bring the fight to you, and that's what happened. I mean, he got a couple of takedowns in that fight as well, so I think this is a super, super dangerous fight for Nathaniel Wood, especially being in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the judges are obviously going to be the same. It's going to be a completely different commission. But if these rounds are close, you'd have to think that they might edge with Dodson. But then, again, Dodson has lost 11 decisions. So it's like, if the rounds are close, they might look the other way, and the guy who's just doing the more work and looking better, cutting off the cage, landing more in Wood, which I think he will, might win him the fight. But like I say, I've got a funny feeling that this... I've got a funny feeling this could be like a really... like one of these kind of hometown decisions that you see sometimes. You think that Nathaniel might win, but actually they'll give it to the kind of home guy, home state, whatever it may be. I'm going to pick Nathaniel Wood because I think that he's just making the correct adjustments, and he seems to be making some massive adjustments fight to fight. I mean, he's had 8-9 months off since the fight in London.
Yeah, he had an injury to his hand, so he had
to kind of get that looked after, and he's been adding some things to his game, I'm guessing. I'm going to pick Nathaniel Wood via decision, but like I say, I've got this sinking feeling that they're going to give it to John Dodson, which would really, really not be great. But I'm going to take the Prospect. Maybe has to kind of drop that nickname if he kind of wins this one. So yeah.
We're going to go to the welterweight division next with a surprise fight, I suppose. Tim Means fighting Daniel Rodriguez, making his UFC debut. So I kind of thought that was a bit of a odd matchup, Will, but it's happening. What are you looking at this matchup, bro? Because the Naughty Bird Beans is coming out to play.
Yeah, I was kind of interested to see how the Amir fight was going to go for Means. I liked how he kind of rebounded in his last fight there after. Did he get knocked out by Nicco Price? It was, yeah. He got absolutely poleaxed by that shot by Nicco Price. But then, I mean, coming out against Thiago Alves, Thiago's definitely he's finally left the UFC. One of the guys that's been around for the longest time. For the last 3-4 years, he's been deep very, very quickly. And Tim Means caught him in a beautiful guillotine choke. Showed some really nice striking as well. Caught him with some nice counter strikes. Super, super aggressive. When I look at this Daniel Rodriguez guy, I don't overly rate him that highly. I think this is a good. It should be a good one for Tim Means. Just watch what you're doing, because obviously with these guys, they have a lot of power and they can hit you with strikes like pretty much what Nicco Price did. But Tim Means is the guy that kind of uses all kind of facets of his game with his elbows, with his knees, and really good combination striking as well. I think Tim Means should get the win here. I think he's obviously fighting in his home state. It's going to be massive. I'm sure he's going to have fans there. And Rodriguez, just when I look into his fights, I wasn't really super impressed with the Farrington fight on the Dana White's Contender Series. No. When they went out and had another win, got a TKO stoppage in the second. And I just think I like Tim Means in this fight. I like the experience of Tim Means. I just think this is going to be a kind of good matchup for him. So I'm going to take Tim Means via stoppage. Actually, I'm going to go first round, kind of knockout.
Yeah, I think Daniel Rodriguez as well. Well, the fight he got, the knockout, his last one, the guy was 17 and 26.
Oh, really? Was it that bad?
Yeah, some crazy record like that as well, which even stands out a bit more to you. You know, it sticks out a bit more. So, and the Farrington fight, gosh, I wasn't that impressed. I thought the output was low.
Yeah.
I thought Farrington did well in the fight as himself. You know, he landed some good shots and got off on the kid. I thought Rodriguez didn't do anything in that fight to make me go sign that guy up, and I suppose because he just, I think Tim Means should be quicker fight. It should be a better fighter. Clinch work, elbows, punches. I think Tim Means should be able to outwork the guy on the feet. Like you said, well, I think you should be able to put him out. I think Tim Means might get him against the cage and just light him up a little bit with the elbows. I just don't know what Daniel Rodriguez is going to bring to this fight that's going to make me say he should win this fight. I think that Tim Means should take this all day long. There's no reason why Tim Means should lose this fight. If he doesn't, like you said, Will, if he goes in there, big bollocks and think he's going to walk it, there's a chance it can happen. I think he's learned and he's experienced, Tim Means. I think he's knowledgeable to know not to do that. And especially, like you say, with Nicco Price and fights recently where he maybe should have won and he let him slip away. He should not let this slip away. I think it should be a stoppage as well. I'm going first round. KO, TKO, whatever you want to call it. I can't see it going any other way. Now, kicking off the main card. Two guys who are just fun to watch. They're not going to be wearing that lightweight strap anytime in this lifetime or the next. But they're just going to be fun to watch. Anytime they've got a fight on, I think, you know what, something's going to go down. So Lando Vannata against Yancy Medeiros. Let's look at Yancy going fight at lightweight. He tried a little play around welterweight, didn't do too bad, but ultimately he's just a lightweight guy, and he did talk in the past about featherweight, so he's clearly, found that lightweight's probably more optimal for him, for his size and strength and kind of mixture of being able to take the punches. Lando Vannata, he's just a frustrating guy to watch when you think of the talent he's got, when you watch him in some fights, and then you just think, what's he doing? Like the Mark Diakiese fight, just check the leg kick. Just check the leg kick. But he didn't check it time and time again. I think there was points where Mark Diakiese didn't even set up the kick. He just threw it and he landed it. I was thinking, you do know you can only take 2 or 3 of them, and then that's you done. Like, it's not like when you get hit, if anyone watches, in fact, I'll rephrase that. If anyone's ever done kind of any kickboxing, Muay Thai or anything, you can get kicked in the thigh 3 times, you're good. All right, it's going to tickle. Don't get me wrong. It's not fun, but you can handle it. There's more meat there to handle and take the blow. Get kicked in the car 3 times. Actually done, and he just took these kicks and it took him out of that fight straight away. By the end of the first round, Lando's out that Mark Diakiese fight. Mark Diakiese got takedowns on him as well. I was like, wow, well that was impressive. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Mark Diakiese turned things around, but I just think Lando Vannata has got the. He looks like he's 46, not 27. Do you know what I mean? He's had a rough round. I don't know. I don't know if his paper round was in, I don't know, Afghanistan, but it wasn't. He's had a rough time for some reason. It looks like he's had a rough time. He looks, I don't know, worn. It looks like he's worn out for some reason. I don't know what it is. Yancy Medeiros will come swinging. I think it's an ideal fight for Lando to land some good strikes here, though, because he can get stopped. Greg Gillespie fight for Yancy. The first round, you can write that off, really, can't you? Let's be honest. He didn't. I think he landed 2 punches, and the rest of it, he was just defending takedowns, and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. And then the second round kicked in, and then Greg Gillespie got the stoppage, got the finish in there. But I think Lando Vannata should be able to land some punches here, because Yancy's not going to be wanting clinching. He's not going to be wanting for the takedowns. He's going to be looking to stand. So it kind of suits Lando Vannata a little bit for space and movement. I'm not confident on any of these guys, by the way. Neither of these guys are two guys that you want to put any faith in or any money on, because they both will lose you money. If you look at Lando Vannata, it's a bit of a tough one, because he won against Mark. He got that John McDessie fight, and then he got the Marco, is that Anderson Silva's mate, the Marcos fight?
Yeah, Mariano, yeah.
So if you look at he's not actually really won that much. So Lando should, in theory, win this fight because of the skill set and potential he has. And Yancy's jaw is a little bit questionable. But do you know what? No. God damn it. Do you know what? I'm going to create. I'm going to do Yancy. Why not? Do you know what? If I'm honest with you, I don't care who wins, because neither of them are. Like, I go Yancy. I go Yancy just to the output. He does throw good output compared to Lando. He does have a come forward, good output. I think the height and distance thing might be an advantage for him as well in this fight. If I look at it from that perspective, Lando should just wrestle foot Yancy. He really should, but he won't. So, and yeah, I'm going to go Yancy. Why not?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great fight. Actually, I think both guys throw a lot, they absorb a lot, and I think that I think I'd be surprised, honestly, if I seen this fight go to decision. I think this has got the kind of every opportunity of being a fight that a lot of strikes are landed, and when I look at it, I think this is a really good fight for Lando. It's hard being confident in that guy, honestly. But he is super technical. The guy can eat. I think he can eat a shot better than what Yancy can, and I think he's more powerful than what Yancy is. But Yancy is super. What's the word I'm trying to say? Super. I want to say durable, but when he gets hit, he
recovers well.
He recovers well, yeah.
So he's probably well conditioned. That's what helps him recover.
And when you look at Lando, I know we've been talking about him not kind of winning much. I don't really. You can't really look at the Mariano fight, because Mariano had no right being in the UFC at all.
Oh, horrible that was.
Yeah, I think the betting lines were it's like pretty much like a pick and fight with a slight edge to Vannata, but this opened as Lando as a fairly kind of sizable underdog, and when I actually think that Yancy can be like absolutely knocked out quick. And when you watch Lando, he's never really out of it. He takes a lot of damage, but the one fight that he really looked out of his depth was his last fight against Diakiese, because Diakiese really turned up and completely shut him out. Low kicks, got takedowns. He had nothing for Diakiese, which surprised me, but I thought that fight would have been closer. Diakiese blew him out of the water in that fight. But yeah, I actually like Lando Vannata to kind of stop this in the first round. I think he's going to catch. I think this is going to be a little bit of a firefight early on. I think that he's got the better chin. I think he's got more kind of weapons with his striking. I think he's a little bit more unorthodox. Yancy's very open. His head kind of sits in the air a little bit. So I'm going to take a shot here. I actually think he's kind of a more skilled and a more kind of dangerous fighter than what Yancy is. So I'm going to take Lando Vannata via first round TKO.
Yeah, I was flipping between the two of them for the past 30 minutes or so. I've been talking as well, mate. It's It's happening. I'll happily do a pass on that, but we've got a flyweight division next. This fight that's going to be interesting for two reasons, actually. The matchup itself. Okay, Rodrigo Bontorin against Ray Borg. Will Ray Borg, mate, 125? Will, that's the question I want to ask you first. Do you think Ray will stand on at 126?
See, I completely forgot about that. When I looked at it, I thought, right, bantamweight fight, and I was like, no, Bontorin's a flyweight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ray Borg's a flyweight. Like, he was a flyweight, so he's got the opportunity to go back down again. So that's interesting to me because...
But he missed weight in the past as well, at bantamweight.
I think Bontorin has missed weight at flyweight. I think in his first fight against Bellator, he missed weight. So two, I don't want to say big guys because they're only 5'4", 5'5", whatever it might be. But maybe they've started to kind of do better with their weight cuts and whatever else. I've liked what I've seen from Bontorin, honestly. I watched the Bibulatov fight today. That was a close fight. Bibulatov was a guy with a lot of hype on him. And he came in there, and being in Brazil, I think he probably just got the edge in that fight. There wasn't a hell of a lot in it. I know a lot of people are crying robbery when Bibulatov lost that one. But in the Paiva fight, I mean, you've seen just how strong that guy is. He is very, 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 very strong. And Ray Borg, I mean, he's striking. He doesn't land any striking, so he's going to try and clinch up with this guy. And I think that there is opportunities where he might get a takedown, but I think Bontorin can maybe sweep him a little bit in that there. And he's got takedowns in his two fights as well. So he took down Bibulatov with, I think it was a body lock that he got him with. So, like I say, a very strong guy, hard guy to kind of get down and keep down, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I think once they're in open space, I think that Bontorin is the better striker. But like I say, this drop down to flyweight really interests me with Borg because, I mean, he came out in that fight against who was his last? Gabriel Silva, I think it was. Yeah. And like, so I remember betting Silva in that fight because I liked what I seen, and I thought he won the first round, I think. But then 2 and 3, he's grappling.
Just tired.
Yeah, he got him down and it was passing his guard fairly easy. But he did that as well, to be fair, in the Kenney fight where he took him down numerous times, past guard, but we spoke with Kenney. He's good at getting back to his feet, reversing positions, and he outstruck Borg in the feet. This is going to be another close fight. I really do. I think it's going to be a close fight. Whether Borg can take him down and keep him there, I don't think he can. I think this guy can maybe take Borg down too. So I'm going to go Rogerio Bontorin to win the decision here. So I've got him a hard-fought 15-minute fight decision for Bontorin.
For you all posh Rogerio.
Rogerio.
No, I'm the same. Well, I'm going Bontorin. I think Bono is impressing me big time. He has looked really good, really impressed. Power-wise, packed with power, not just in the striking, but with the grappling aspect. And I think Ray Borg will have success in the first round with takedowns or potentially getting it to the ground and maybe bounce back up. But I think when obviously he gets to the second, third round, they're sweating, the bodies are a bit slippier. I think Ray will have a bit of a tougher time getting the takedowns in or sticking to it. I think it'll be easier for Bontorin to slip the underhooks in when they're sweating a lot more. It's a lot easier to get the grappling, potential escapes and slipping out. And that's my fear. I think Ray's got to set up the grappling. To set up the grappling, he's got to close down Bontorin. Now he's got to close down with potentially strikes. Bontorin will throw counter strikes. That's where the danger for me lies. And I think even Bontorin, like you said, Will, I think he might shoot him for the takedown before Ray does. So he might anticipate Ray's oncoming attack and shoot in for the takedown himself. I think he's nice and aggressive, which is one thing I liked about Bontorin. I think that, like I say, that Bibulatov fight was fun, really interesting fight. And he showed a great game, and he came back like Bibulatov was throwing good strikes, but he cracked back. He hit back hard and went, okay, if you want to throw it, you're spinning back kicks, good. I'm going to pop this right in your kisser, and he did. And I think Ray my big question is the weight. The pair of them making 125, but Ray Borg more so, because Ray's been comfortable at 135 for a little bit. And obviously, you know, you've got to take into context the distractions he has with his little one. You know, the dedication and the time away from the sport itself, and his, you know, and the mental aspect, it does come to mind. You know, you think how much of his time is drawn up with that, how much of his time is drawn up with that, with the weight cut, the discipline, stuff like that. It's not a nice situation. It's not nice to use it as a negative. I'm not using your child as a negative, but you've got to use it as a negative on the sport, so to speak. Is it having maybe a possible negative effect on a sport, on what he could be, his potential? You know, it could be restricting his potential on what he can be as a fighter. Is he taking the fights because he needs to? He does need to get the money coming in, so the wins are a huge one. But I'm going Bontorin. I just think he's an exceptionally exciting flyweight. I think he's going to be a great little contender this year. I think get Bontorin a couple more fights, and I think he'll be kicking ass in that top 10 for fun. So yeah, I'm going for Bontorin. Probably decision win 2-1, because I think Ray can maybe get the first of a couple of the takedowns that might help score it for him. But second and third should be Bontorin going away, getting a walk away. Sorry, with the decision win there. Next up we have in the lightweight division. I'm saying this out loud now. Brok Weaver against Kazula Vargas. Yeah. I'll make it short and sweet. I think Vargas is an okay fighter. He hasn't got the best striking in the world, but that's what he likes to apply. He's oh gosh, I can't believe I've got to even break this fight down, but I think Brok Weaver's the better fighter out of the two of them. I think Brok Weaver's got better boxing. He actually has got. It's weird to say. He hasn't got bad distant management with his feet. Brok with the when he just uses boxing hands only. He's good at the footwork coming in and out in the space with dictating the space and controlling the fight. I think Kazula on the feet, he's aggressive, but he's not clean. Brok's a cleaner fighter with the hands, and he can pop good combinations with his hands and footwork. He's good at getting out of range of strikes as well. The Alex de Silva fight for Vargas is a blueprint on how to beat him. Take him down. He doesn't know what he's doing. When he's on his back, he can't get up. He's like one of your local girls on a Friday night, on their back, not moving. He's just getting down. But Weaver, I have a very strong feeling, has zero interest in grappling and taking him down, which Weaver can take guys down. He has shown it in his past fights that he can get takedowns, but he won't do it. He's going to box. He's going to be stubborn. He could take this Vargas down and just out-grapple him for 3 rounds and even maybe finish him, who knows. But he won't. I'm going to go with Weaver to stop the fight. Later on in the fight was boxing, but I don't see much in Vargas as a UFC fighter, if I'm honest with you. I'm putting back on the regionals. Just my opinion. Yeah, I'm going Weaver, bro. Who are you going with?
Okay. Yeah, this is the fight that I thought, right, I don't really want to watch too much into. I've heard a bit about this Brok Weaver dude, and I know about him because his fights have been on Fight Pass, and I know, I think at some of the random nights I've been up late and the fights have been on. I thought, right, I'm going to look into this guy, and I looked into him and I was like, ooh, dude, I don't think you're all that good. Watched the Dana White Contender Series fight, and then I watched some of the Island fights, James Freeman fight, the Tyler Hill fight.
Yeah. And
I was like, there's definitely spots where this guy, because I looked at the betting line and I seen he was minus 300, which is a heavy favourite. I thought, to me, that's off, but I hadn't really watched Kazula Vargas. But I instantly went in that because Kazula Vargas is, when you look at the betting lines here, he's plus 250. I thought that might be a tasty underdog bet there. And then I went over and watched Kazula Vargas. I'm like, no, this is not the guy. This is definitely not the guy, because I watched his UFC debut. I watched some of the Combate America fights.
Yeah.
And this guy gets taken down far too easily in positions. And Brok Weaver, to his credit, he does have some boxing background. He has some good technical combinations as well. And I've seen him take guys down. I've seen him move to position. I've seen him submit guys. I've seen Vargas been taken down and not know how to get back to his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I go with Brok Weaver on this one. I think he did a week out American Top Team, which is always going to help getting sparring with some of the guys out there. But like I say, I wanted to be confident in Vargas, but I can't be because he can't stop a takedown. The only way I see him winning this fight is if Brok Weaver comes in here super emotional and wants to put on a fight for the fans and just fight stupidly and gets into a swinging match because... what was I can't remember. The fight was where he got knocked out with an absolute clean left hook when he was against the cage, which completely took him out his way. He didn't even remember what happened to him. The ref was trying to stand him up when he should have been sitting him down, and so he can be knocked out. But he's made some big strides, I think, with his jiu-jitsu game as well. I actually think he submits Kazula Vargas. I think once he takes it to the ground, he can find a way to get a sub here. So I've got Brok Weaver for the win.
If you're a coach and you tell the guy, just take him down, but coach, I've got good boxing, just take him down, he hasn't got a clue. If you don't do it, you need to have a word of yourself. How is Vargas in the UFC? It's beyond me. But anyway, he is. Next up we have tasty little women's flyweight fight this time, not the men's, the women's. We have the partner of Mark, Montana De La Rosa, against the Italian stallion, Maria Romero Borella. Is she the drug dealing one? I think she is, isn't she? Yeah, she's the drug dealer. Yeah, she's... if you don't know what that is about, folks, do Google it. It's hilarious, and she's still allowed to compete in the sport. Will, it's a thrilling matchup. Who are you taking for the win?
I've got De La Rosa. Personally, myself, I was looking at this thinking this could be quite close. The women's fights are always kind of quite close. You don't really get kind of run over in the women's division all that much. I mean, you had a close one with Murphy and Lee last week. I thought Lee won the fight, but they gave it to Murphy.
She totally did win. We got robbed.
So, yeah, that was a little bit iffy in my opinion. But the big thing here is I think as the fight goes on, I think the wrestling of De La Rosa will come more prominent, but you have to be careful with Romero because she's had submissions in the past and she could catch somebody with that. But De La Rosa, she's quite, I don't know if she's big, but she's quite long. And she, like I say, she comes from a wrestling background and she's got submissions there. She absorbs quite a lot of strikes, though. She has to be careful she doesn't leave that chin in there. I think if she can somehow just wear out Borella here with takedowns in top position, I think she could find a submission in this one. It's not a fight I've looked into all that much. I've not really got much of a... it's one I'm like, I really want to watch this fight. But I think the wrestling could kind of play dividends for De La Rosa here. And I think as it goes on, she could get a submission or she could get a decision. I'm probably going to edge a decision. But it wouldn't surprise me if she caught a sub.
Yeah, I'm going with you on the De La Rosa side of things. I think one of the factors would be Borella will try to actually take the fight to the ground itself. She likes to get the clinch work on the cage, Borella. She likes to close fights down and get them against the cage. I just think she'll have a bit of difficulty getting it to the ground. Obviously, you mentioned there with the background of De La Rosa, the wrestling. I think Borella will have the difficulty there. And Borella's not got the striking to cause the issues for, like you said. De La Rosa does take quite a few shots in the Andrea Lee fight. She got busted up pretty well, but she's not fighting a striker like that. So I don't want to say she has a luxury, but she could be a little bit more open with her wrestling and aggressiveness. So she can I'm not saying to get away with more, but she could probably get a bit more free with that. I'm with you. I think De La Rosa eventually kind of comes second round after quite a heavy grappling. First round, if you can make it that way, tire Borella out a little bit and then get the grappling fest going for the takedowns in the second and third round. But yeah, potential late stoppage, maybe a submission for De La Rosa, wouldn't be surprised. But I'm pretty confident with De La Rosa. Should be able to out-wrestle this fight as long as she doesn't... I just hate the fact that her and a partner on the same card. It just does me nothing. Because I'm like, it could possibly have an effect. Let's say that Mark De La Rosa gets absolutely sparkoed with a potential KO of the year, flatlines the guy, and he's stiff as an iron board. It's got to affect her. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I don't like it. Like Sergio and Anthony, when they're on the same card, now get them off. Don't have them on the same card. Let them focus on their fight. But I know they corner each other, but still don't like it. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Montana De La Rosa winner. Next up we have in the co-main event some can called Diego Sanchez against Michel Pereira. Pereira.
That's my guy.
That's your guy. Well, Pereira missed weight in his last fight. Let's make a little note of that as well. He did come in at 172. It's only a pound, and if he chopped off that girly, noncy man bun, he would have probably made weight, but he didn't. But, Will, what are you looking for in this? Well, because it's an interesting fight.
Yeah, everybody knows, I think, that by this point, Diego's my kind of favourite fighter. So, but I just don't like this fight for him. I think that he could get absolutely blasted in the first minute of this fight and be out there. But if he gets past those first couple of minutes, then I think he's got a really great chance of winning the fight. We've seen that in the last fight with Pereira. I mean, the guy comes out and he throws the weirdest stuff. I think if he was to rein back in that a little bit and just pick his shots, use his length, use his power, and then occasionally come out with some of the hysterics that he usually does, he could be very, very dangerous. But when he comes out and he throws all these spinning things and backflips and you name it, that's taken away so much energy, and especially for a guy who's massive for Wilt, trying to make that weight cut. It's interesting because, like I say, if this fight doesn't get finished in the first round, Diego, I think, could easily take over in the last two rounds like Tristan Conley did, because that's what happened. I mean, Conley came in there and it must have been 4 days' notice or something?
Yeah.
He came in that fight and got the win over Pereira, who was obviously having all the spotlight shining after that brutal knockout of Danny Roberts. But you can see the athleticism with Pereira, and you can see the power in that fight against Danny Roberts, because that shot that he hit Danny Roberts with, that right hand straight down the pipe, absolutely poleaxed him. I mean, Michel Pereira, he got takedowns, but I think he got swept. Did he not get swept? He did. I'm thinking back to that. I watched that a few days ago. He got the takedowns, but he got swept.
Tristan got him down as well, yeah.
Yeah, and then ultimately he just kept top position. He couldn't get back to his feet. It's how you look at it. You look at who's Diego Sanchez really training with now. He's not Jackson Wink. I think he's at this new gym called the Inn of the Mountain Gods. So it's like, who's he training with? Who's he sparring with? What looks is he getting? He's definitely not getting looks against guys like this, who are speedy, athletic, and throw.
There's not a lot of guys like that, is there?
To be fair, I'm going to, as much as it hurts me to say, I'm going to pick Pereira via first round knockout. I just think he catches him with a big shot. But honestly, if this fight hits the second round, I think Sanchez can take over and wear this guy down and just lay on top, maybe get some, maybe not a submission because he doesn't really finish that many guys, but I'll pick Pereira. I'm
going to go Sanchez.
All right.
And I've went against Sanchez more times than I can ruddy count. Yeah, I'm going to go Sanchez. For the wrestling side of things, I think he could wrestle, and I think he can. He's got great cardio, Sanchez. Something that Pereira doesn't know what it is. The thing for Pereira was bloody intro alone. He's doing a bloody spinning, dancey move thing on the ground, spinning around, stands up, and he does this explosive thing. He does explosive moves, but he's not actually throwing stuff. Sometimes he's just running to the cage and jumps off it, and obviously guys are just running out of the way, going, "Yeah, all right, you knock yourself out, kid. Yeah, you do that. Yeah, I'm just going to keep standing here." And that's all you have to do. And Diego Sanchez, just watch the last fight, go, cool, he's going to do explosive stuff, and then he's going to bring it down. Explosive stuff, bring it down. Ride that out, because Pereira, he was blowing heavy 2 minutes into the fight. You could see it. You could see he was going within 2 minutes. So I think if you're Sanchez, don't do Danny Roberts. Don't engage with the guy straight off the cuff. Don't give him what he needs, which is you in front of him. Just be good on your feet, be aware that he's going to come aggressive, and just move in the right place. And actually try and time the takedown more than anything, because he's going to maybe sometimes run and do stuff. Time the takedown, get the guy down, make him, even let him stand up, let the guy get up. Make him work, and, Sanchez is a veteran. He's been around a while. I know his chin's not what it used to be, but I don't know, I don't have much faith in Pereira, because I think the dude's just wild. And he's going to be one of those guys going to be hit and miss all the time. He's showed he's got good power. He's showed he's got good strength, but he just hasn't shown it over more than 2.5 minutes in a fight. And I just think he's going to be one of those hit and miss guys in the UFC. He's just going to keep doing hit and miss. I'm going to go with Diego Sanchez for this one. I think it's Diego Sanchez potentially for the win here, which sounds so weird in 2020 to say that out loud, that Diego Sanchez is going to win a UFC welterweight fight, but I'm saying that. Next up, we have the main event. Corey Anderson, Jan Blachowicz, part 2. Yeah, they kind of had to meet because there was a Jon Jones title fight the week before, so they've ended up rematching these two. And prior to the match with Jon Jones and Reyes, this was clearly going to be for the #1 contender. But now, after the Reyes fight, you do think, oh, I wonder if they're going to make the rematch. Or is it going to be, Reyes, if you want a rematch, look how long it took Gustafsson to get a rematch, so good luck with that. Because, was Jon Jones, Jon Jones had a little suspension and all that good stuff, but at the same time, was Jon Jones smart, thinking, let Gus have to fight in the meantime, and, get a bit of wear and tear and not be the guy he was when he fought the second time round. Either way, I think Corey and Jan are going to be miffed, whichever guy wins in this fight, because I don't think they're going to get a shot. I think Reyes might get a rematch at the International Fight Week, for example, or something. So, yeah, Corey Anderson coming into the fight after beating and knocking out Johnny Walker, which out loud sounds weird, but he knocked him out with his hands. Corey Anderson knocked someone out with his hands. One thing I'm being impressed with Corey, though, he has tightened his game up a bit more. He has improved areas of his game. His conditioning over 5 rounds, he's got good conditioning over 5 rounds. He can grapple with you as well. His striking's improved a bit more, so it's more of a threat than a setup for a takedown as well. So that's something that Corey can take away. Not talking about the Johnny Walker fight. I'm just talking about, like, for example, the Latifi fight or fights prior to that. I think that he started to use his hands in a way that it's more of keeping guys away rather than just to get close distance to get a takedown in. So for that reason alone, it's actually tougher as you as an opponent of Corey, because now you've got to think, is Corey going to set up the takedown with the strikes, or is he actually just wanting to strike? Because that's when your hands drop, because you expect the 1-2 to come and then the shot, and when you do that, your hands naturally go pad to knock the punches down, drop for the takedown. If that's not coming, a kick or a punch comes from Corey, and that's going to hurt you. So he's got an extra weapon in there, which he didn't have in the past few years, let's say. Jan Blachowicz, I've got to say, I've been impressed by his improvements over the years. Take away the Thiago Santos fight, because that guy's a murderer. He has come on leaps and bounds. Takedown defense has improved. His striking is starting to get a lot of confidence in going back to Poland. Firstly, he stopped Luke Rockhold, so he gets a high five from me. He had that fight against Jacare, which, Jacare, for Jacare to win that, he had to get the fight to the ground and submit him. That was the only way I thought Jacare could win the fight. It was a tight fight, but either way, Jan Blachowicz come away with the win. When he fought two top guys, even though Jacare's in the 185, is top guy, and Luke Rockhold didn't have the chin he used to have, kind of like a Chris Weidman, who's going back down to middleweight. Well, quick question. Would you give Chris Weidman anyone in the top 15, or would you give him someone who's not that great? You can't, can you?
I'd be trying to build some of these kids coming through if we could, and see if they can get a name when I wouldn't, but who knows? I'd
give Darren Stewart then, if he beats Marvin Vittori after London. So, yeah, so you've got Corey Anderson, who's just working and grinding, and Jan Blachowicz, who's improved leaps and bounds. I'm going to go Corey Anderson, though. After watching what I've seen, I just think that Corey, because he's added the striking to his game, he could stand with Jan Blachowicz a bit more, and that will actually encourage Jan to throw. But I think the takedown defense has improved by Jan, but I think Corey's takedowns are far better than the guys he's fought. That's the problem. So Corey's good at chain wrestling. He's good at going from the singles to the doubles and back and forth and ankles and low picks. He's got the good mixture of that, and he does grind you down. He does tire you out, and he's got good 5 rounds of it. He could go for that long, and I think Jan will get caught out eventually after 1 or 2 takedowns, and it's just a scoring game. I'm going to go decision win for Corey. I think Corey can win 3 of the 2 rounds for sure, implementing the wrestling on some of them. I think Jan might get the first couple of rounds in, maybe, or first round potentially, but I'm going to go with Corey. I think he has tightened up his game, especially on the striking side of things, which has showed up and be given more confidence to use his wrestling when he needs to, rather than relying on it. And that's a great kind of asset to have, really. Rather than panic to get on the ground, he's now happy to stand for a bit to then get it to the ground. I think Jan might have a bit of difficulty in the fight, but it's going to be a good fight because Jan's done so much better in the past few years. But yeah, I've got Corey Anderson decision win.
Yeah, like I say, this is when I watched it'd been a while since I watched the first fight between these two, and I mean it started off fairly close in that first round, but once like Anderson managed to get his hand around Blachowicz really had no answers for stopping a takedown, and especially getting off his back, and he was blowing out his arse, especially early in the second round. He took big breaths at the end of the first, actually. And that's one thing that has got better with him, I think, is his conditioning's got better. And his confidence, I think just his general confidence is at an all-time high. Even in the fight with Thiago Santos, he had spots in that fight where he looked okay, just got caught with a shot with Santos. That happens sometimes. But when I look at Blachowicz, what he's faced, I mean, he's fought 2 middleweights in his last couple of fights who are smaller guys. I know Rockhold is a big dude, but he is a smaller guy, I think he was. And ultimately, Luke Rockhold's not known for a takedown game. He's a top position guy. If he gets top, he's got some of the most devastating top control, top position. Once he gets there, the fight's pretty much done. And then you look at it was Thiago Santos and Krylov. They're not wrestlers. Manoa, not a wrestler. No. Kenney, not a wrestler. Devin Clark, he is a wrestler by trade, and did okay in that and managed to catch a submission. But he's not really faced an absolute wrestler since probably Corey Anderson. And Corey Anderson, once he found his way to get him to the ground and get top position, Blachowicz had absolutely nothing for him. For me, when I look at Corey Anderson overall as a fighter, I think he's better in a lot of aspects more than what Blachowicz is. I just think Blachowicz is in the best spot he's ever been in. Confidence super high, beat former champions of previous organisations, former UFC champion. Obviously the Rockhold one, he stopped all the kind of takedowns there and he really demoralised Rockhold, and that kind of made him strike. And just the Rockhold's not got a chin anymore. His chin's deteriorated, it's gone. And people I've had conversations with people talking about the power of Jan Blachowicz, and I'm like, not being disrespectful, but what power has he got? Obviously, it's the Rockhold fight. The guy's had 33 fights and he's got like 3 or 4 TKOs as a light heavyweight. Yeah, so, like, that's not a good return at all. Yeah.
The Latifi one was a body kick as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a body kick. But in saying that, what's Corey Anderson's weakness? He's got a weak chin.
Yeah,
he's got a chin. So that if you catch him with the right shot, you can put him down. Like I say, I like Corey Anderson quite a bit. I actually quite like watching him fight because he's relentless and he never stops. He keeps on going, and he's a very hard fighter to look good against. That's why I was all over him as an underdog against Johnny Walker. With Johnny Walker, I didn't see a knockout coming for Corey Anderson because he doesn't dominantly stop fights. Not unless he's dominant with ground and pound like the O'Connell fight. But he's relentless in getting his takedowns. And once he gets top position, he doesn't stop throwing strikes and he doesn't get out of position all that often. Like you had someone like Glover down, I think, 5 to 7 times. And Glover is a very experienced guy, a black belt, a dangerous guy, and he really had nothing for him in that fight in Germany. And his striking has definitely got better. Obviously, the only thing I'm worried about here is he gets super confident in his striking and he tries to strike with Blachowicz, catches a big shot. But I kind of think he's that stupid to do that. Obviously, there was the OSP fight. He was winning that fight and got caught with a head kick. It happens. The Shogun fight, I think if that was a close fight. He got dropped in that one, which probably ultimately lost him the fight. Plus, it was in Brazil. If that was in America, he might have got the split decision win there. So he just has to kind of keep his chin tucked in and grind this guy against the cage. Now, like I say, Blachowicz has definitely made, I think, advancements with his takedown defense, but again, I think it's against middleweights and it's against strikers that he's stuffed the majority of takedowns in his last load of fights, and they're just not, in my opinion, on the level of Corey Anderson. We've seen this fight before. I know it was nearly 5 years ago, but you mean to say to me that Corey Anderson's going to want to come out here and try and swing some bombs with Blachowicz. I don't see it. He's going to grind this guy out, get him to the ground. So I've got Corey Anderson actually by a decision. He could stop him with strikes if. I don't think the condition. I think the conditioning like 3 years ago played a big part in the fight, but I don't think it'll be that quick where Jan's huffing and puffing in the first. I think once he gets to maybe 3, 4, having all that weight on top of him, then it might cause him to maybe get TKO'd. But I like Corey Anderson to get a decision here, so I've got him for the W.
Nice. Okay, next up we have is Will's picks.
Yeah.
Now, before we do the bets, Will, ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button. Give us that sub. Hit the like if you are picking Corey Anderson, as we just both picked Corey Anderson there. And also give us a comment below on who you're betting with and who you're picking in the fights. Will, there's been big line movement I saw online with Kenney that popped over today. But as a whole, on the card, is there any lines, parlays, what you're seeing, bro? Any tips?
Yeah, I've got 3 bets already, which is I usually don't have as many as this, but I had 2 last week, fairly early last week as well, because the lines are coming out so early now. Kind of got to get on some lines and watch some fights super early. And I mean, today there was lines being released for the March 27th card in Columbus.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's like 7 weeks away.
Leon Edwards odds are out as well. I think he's moved from -120 to -220 or something like that.
Yeah, he's a big favourite over Woodley. So that's interesting. So, like I say, my bets I've got so far. So I've got Corey Anderson and I've got Howley and Paiva. Got him in a parlay, plus 136. I've got Anderson -200, Paiva -175.
Nice.
I feel really confident in that bet coming through if Paiva can get through, because I think Anderson, he's just going to grind Blachowicz out. So I like that one a lot. I bet Lando Vannata, which is kind of sketchy. Because I mean the guy doesn't overly win fights in the UFC, but I think this is a good matchup for him where he can take this guy out. And he was a plus 140 underdog. He's now, did I say I pick him earlier on? Lando Vannata is -115. So there's been some line change from a heavy mid-sized underdog to a slight favourite. So I'm on the right side there. Like I say, it's risky because Lando Vannata doesn't overly win fights in the UFC, but I think Medeiros is kind of decreasing a little bit. I think he's declining just a little bit, and I like him in that one. And the other bet which I made today, before the lines really started to move, was Kenney. I bet him at plus 180. He was as high as, I think, plus 195, plus 200 over the weekend, which I thought was like rather high. Merab was like -250, which I thought was kind of high. But now the lines came down. He's plus 145. Merab's -165. So I've got 2 underdog plays, and I've got a 2-team parlay of Anderson and Paiva for plus money. But there's some, actually, like, I know I've said this before, but I am really not good at prop bets. I actually had a prop bet last week, John Jones by decision at plus 240. I actually really like, I might put money on Corey Anderson via decision, which that's plus 190. So that's something I quite like a little bit, is that one. I kind of like Michel Pereira, -155, but then he's got 5 minutes to land something. If he doesn't, then you've got dog money on Diego Sanchez. So that's interesting to me. Like I said, I thought Vargas was maybe going to be an underdog play, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going there. Weaver, I think, even though his line is -300, it's a little
parlay piece.
Yeah, it could be a parlay piece. Not for me though. I'm staying well away from that fight.
What's the like for Bontorin and Borg?
Bontorin's an underdog, so Bontorin's plus 120. So that's interesting. That's something I was looking at, but I've got 2 dog plays. I don't know whether I want to go for 3.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit not sure. It might be something that I look into. I think that fight's going to be close though. Who else was I kind of looking at? Nathaniel Wood. I think. Oh yeah. -160. I think he's -150 actually over here in the UK. So you're getting a little bit of odds value from America. I know he's got a tough fight though. It could be a tough fight. He could make it look fairly dominant, or he could make it. It could be very, very close where he kind of loses a decision. But for me, I don't think that's a bad bet if you can get him like -150. I think I'm probably going to end up backing away from that fight though, and just watching it as a fan because I am a fan of Nathaniel Wood. So I'm really rooting for him there, but I don't really think I want my money on him. But there is other spots. I mean, you can fade Dequan Townsend for -300. That's a bit too high for my liking.
What's Macy and Nicco?
Macy is a favourite. Macy is -145. Nicco Montaño is +125. So
I still think 140 is good for Macy.
Not bad at all. Like Jim Miller's +125, but I think that's a tough fight to really be confident in either side. So
Tim Mean's got to be a heavy favourite, I'm guessing.
-260. That's a parlay piece to me. If I was to make another parlay piece, I could put that in there with maybe like the main event over 2.5 rounds or something. That's something actually talking about it now actually quite like, but means actually quite like that bet. But like I say, I've got my 2 dog plays, I've got my parlay piece, and I think I might not. The last bet might be Corey Anderson, just by decision, because I think +190. There's a good high chance that gets there. So yeah, that's my bets for this week.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the podcast. That is the picks. Again, give us who you are petting. Give us your thoughts. Give us your subscription. Next week, we are breaking down a pretty fun fight with Felder versus Hooker in New Zealand. That is going to be disgustingly fun with a ton of great fights on that card, let's be honest. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, can she bounce back after her horrendous skin at the moment? You've also got, who's the light heavyweight guys? Ankaleev? No, it's not that week, is it? Sorry. Jimmy Crute's fighting against Michel. Yeah, it's an interference there. You couldn't hear me say his name properly, but I totally did say it properly in case anyone was listening. Aguilar against Tukov as well. That's another fun fight. You've got Meek, or Mech, however you want to call it, against Matthews. So, fun fights on that one. Angela Hill just got announced as well. Luke Boone Me as well. That's going to be fun. So, unbelievable matchups for that card. So, it's going to be a fun fight. So, tune in for that one. We are looking forward to breaking it down. Thank you all for listening.